Ah, yes. A pleasant good morning to everyone. A pleasant good morning to everyone. Calypsonian disciple Umar Muhammad, transmitting to you from East Dry River, Port of Spain, Trinidad, and Tobago. Mhm. 75 years of age. Praise and thanks to the Most High. Uh, Emancipation will be on the first, as usual, the first of August month. Now, this year, August month is a very what you call it's a very educational month, a very important month in the year, one of the most important months of the year that starts with a holiday, ends with a holiday. But between the first and also the ending of this month, we have the United Nations recognizing, World Steel Pan Day. I don't know if that will be declared a holiday after the called the Pananoise instrument. Today it is known throughout the world. And we also have local government election. You know something about African people? Whenever we do things, people don't like it. They call it noisy instrument, all kind of things. And it is only when they come up with a strategy to make money out of it that it becomes known, it becomes popular, it becomes accepted in the system. Wewe was one of those things. It is accepted in the system now because it is being legalized, because the system is making money from it, not the poor people, the government, those in higher offices. We had our bushram. It is now being, it is now being, it is a, what you call, a transformation from bushram to angostura. And we had our tobacco bush, and again another transformation to Witco. So you see, whenever people do not understand themselves, when they live in ignorance of themselves and they do not know themselves, they can be easily bought and sold, right? And when I say, because, listen, if you take a dog from some place where it is known by other dogs, it has its freedom and everything, and you put it in a place where it is not known, where it is strange, where it is being controlled by you yourself or you and your family, the dog becomes a stranger in that place. The dog breeds other dogs or puppies and they follow the same pattern. How do you expect those dogs to remember where they came from and to align themselves with their original culture and education so that they can continue to know themselves? No. It is very hard because if you don't know where you came from, you never will know where you are going. So that is why emancipation coming up, we'll be celebrating emancipation. But while many of us know where we came from, to get where we are going is a challenge. It's a big challenge. And there you have the challenges are in the form of the education system, the politics, the religious system. Now, politics, religion, and education, they all came into the same package, the system, the colonial system. And the colonial system is being carried on by the great-grandsons and grandsons and great-grandsons of the colonial masters. Because in nowhere will the colonial masters have put down this system for it to fail, knowing that they are ruling over a people who are so ignorant of themselves that they have no other choice but to follow. And then the timing is, how long will it last for? How will it happen that we will be able to catch ourselves? And I know it was not put down to last for 300 years, 400 years. This colonial system was organized to last for years upon years to come, from generation onto another generation, because none of them will ever stand by idly or sit down on their throne idly and see the power class of people coming up, especially the African race of people, and say, okay, let them go ahead. They will take over the next generation. Oh no. Oh no, they won't do that. So that is why we say it's a struggle, it's a challenge. Because every move you make to come up, there is every move you make for them to push you down. And they are miles ahead of you. You are following way back, and they are leading you way front. So what they know and what they plan to push you down is what you don't know. So many times you are caught off guard, unexpected, or many times you are caught in a subliminal way, a sly way, a deceitful way. And you think it is right, and you follow. Politics, religion, education. But before we go further, we must ask ourselves, to look carefully at this quotation in the Bible. Go ye and multiply. But to multiply in a system where you are being controlled financially, educationally, politically, religiously, how can you really rise up? It comes as though you are having tons of weight on your head and you have to push that up in order to get out. You alone cannot do it. Unity is strength. But how strong can be unity when the other form of unity above you is uniting and becoming stronger? So there's a unity versus another unity. The unity which is down and trying to come up, and the unity which is up and trying to push down or keep down. Because that unity that is up already has its strength. Its strength is already grounded in the system that controls us. But the unity that is down has no strength. The unity that is down is dependent to survive on the system, the education system, the political system, the religious system. It is not depending on itself, because you don't know yourself. Man, know thyself. That is why we say it is a struggle. Because when people are united over your head and you are united under them, it is a very, very, very difficult task to rise up. It can be easy. It can be easy, and so easy. But to make it easy, we have to go through repetitions of do's and don'ts, so that we can know ourselves. The do's and don'ts must be relating to the upliftment of ourselves. To make it easy, we have to find the knowledge to go way back to understand what was then and what is now. To make it easy, we have to know that the system is over us, controlling us, and what we must enjoin as righteous and what we must forbid as wrong. And that is not easy. Because the child that goes to school hasn't a choice to say, you must teach us African language. You must teach us true African history. You must teach us to be ourselves. No. Have you ever wondered why it is they have never taught African knowledge, African history, real African history, way back before slavery, or African language in school? In spite of the fact that it's being mentioned in our national anthem, here every creed and race find an equal place, and may God bless our nation. So long we became an independent nation, how are we not independent as a race of people to know our language? To really practice our culture without being molested by our own people who don't know where they come from or who are being misguided by the system to dislike their own selves. My brother, my sister, it is not an easy task. It is not an easy task. For you to know yourself in a system where you go to school, you speak English. Who will tell you in school about Mansa Musa? Who will tell you about Imhotep? Who will tell you about the ancient Egyptians? They don't want that in school, brother. They don't want that in school. They definitely don't want that in school. And somebody will say, well, the African Association people must, they must protest. They must do something about it. And I will say, yes, that person is right. But the fact is, my people, that we all are to be blamed. Every one of us in some way or the other are to be blamed for the situation that we find ourselves in these days. We ought not to stand up on a TV, to stand up on TV, on radio, and say, look, them African emancipation, I want to know what is going on with them. No, it is not pointing at them, it's pointing at ourselves. Because every one of us, whether police, thief, criminal, doctor, lawyer, we have to blame ourselves for that. I remember the days when I was growing up. Having a black sin was like a curse. Having nothing here was like a curse. And every time we see a white man, we think that he is God. I remember the days when I was growing up. Almost in every Christian house, there was a picture of the devil and Michael the Archangel. Michael the Archangel was a white man with long straight hair with a sword looking to cut down the devil. And the devil was laying on a bed of fire. And the devil was a black man. So when people project that kind of attitude in you, my people, how do you expect people to rise? How do you expect a pregnant woman looking at that picture with a baby in her belly? How do you expect that baby to come out with a DNA that is natural to itself? How do you expect? So we all have to be blamed in some way or the other. The politician, the pastor, every one of us. Who is responsible? Who rules the economy? Who rules the education system? Who rules the system? Not the politician. UNC, PNM, not them. The person who calls the shots in the background, the persons who controls the finance of the country. I'm talking about people with their big investment from outside. The British, the American, who came in here and who invested, who ran the first people out of Port of Spain that they don't have a cathedral in Port of Spain today, who ran the Southern Baptists out of Port of Spain that they too do not have a cathedral. They too have to find themselves in the rural areas. When you look at the Baptists and the Orisha people in the rural areas, and when you look at Port of Spain, you see all the British and the colonial masters with their cathedral, Immaculate Conception, eh, Holy Trinity Cathedral, and all the other churches inside Port of Spain. And then you're going to stand up on a TV and stand up on a radio and boy, look at them emancipation people. I want to know. It's hard, my brother. Don't say it's very hard. And it makes it much so harder when the system is going from bad to worse in order to make themselves richer. Look at what is happening with our carnival. Our carnival was history. When you come out on carnival, then you're looking at history. Gulliver Travels, you're looking at biblical history, you're looking at all kind of things. Urban Mark Williams, right? George Bailey, Harold Saldina. Where are the men like that today to bring forward a band? No. And you talking about look here what they do. Every time they see us going to rise, because I was a food vendor, I know how it goes. When we used to come out to sell nuts, only the Indian man used to sell nuts in a little cone. When the African man started to sell nuts, nuts gone up. That is what they do. Every time you try to put yourself into something to rise, they capitalize on that thing. And knowing that they control the economy, knowing that they control the import and export, and it rises. So emancipation time coming. They're capitalizing on African wear. And the African people are also capitalizing on it too. That is why I'm saying we are not only the only one to blame. You can't stand up on the radio and TV and look them. I want to know where the name for. No, we all have to be blamed because we ourselves are dominating, exploiting our own selves because there are so many Judas, there are so many words in sheep clothing that tell yourself, hey, go to hell with that. It's too hard to rise up in this African thing, right? I still there now, put on my African dashiki, but you're exploiting too, right? You're exploiting too because everybody wants to get a piece of cake, but it's how they want to get it. How the black people want to get a piece of the cake. Some of them get despondent, they let me exploit them. And some have turned into criminals, as we see on our screen, right? The situation. Some people get together and in a very subliminal way talking about cockroaches doing this and cockroaches doing that. But I want them to know, all who just look at black people as cockroach committing crime in this nation, because I hear people in prominent saying that even on TV and all. I want them to know if Putin and the next one in Ukraine, if there are cockroaches too, that causing worldwide war and so many thousands of people have died. If it's a cockroach that caused World War I and World War II, if it's a cockroach that was fighting against cockroach in World War I and World War II, in fact, the cockroaches, according to what you want to call them in that degrading way, they were going to help us fight World War I, to help them fight World War I and World War II. And that is why in Trinidad and Tobago, every November, I think it's on the 11th or the 12th or the 1st or the 2nd Sunday in November, we gather at the Memorial Park and all the cockroaches, as they call us, all the monkeys, all the niggers, as they call it, gather, right, to celebrate who have lost their lives, right, and who went to fight World War and they still existed, right? But the war that they fight against you in slavery, they're telling you to forget that, but they have a memorial for we to memorize them war, not for us to memorize that the war and the exploitation and the brutality that they let loose on us, and which we know as slavery. So therefore, I'm asking myself, coming back to the carnival thing, who is responsible between then and now for changing the system? One, let us look at it. Let me take carnival first. Carnival was history, as I said before. What is carnival now? Can you carry your black child who's supposed to have some black pride about his or herself to see carnival? No. What are you seeing carnival now? is bottom on the road. Women actually exposing the private parts or almost exposing the private part. What can a black child who doesn't know about Africa, who is being taught under the education system, who is being taught in some cases that black is not good, that his hair is not good, or her hair is not good, right? Or who is trying to get an awareness of his or herself, how do you expect them to get that awareness when they see black people like themselves exposing the bottom and getting on in a ridiculous way on Carnival Day? What do you expect them to learn from that? There is no history in that. There is no spirituality in that. There's nothing in that but vulgarity, right? How did it reach like that? The churches there, the churches could not have done anything. The politicians there, they could not have done anything. You know why? Because they themselves realize it is part of the system in order to keep certain people down and in order to keep certain people misguided. So, in order for the big boys to make more money, so they go with it. So what happens? You get less from more. You understand? You pay more for less because where as it is now, you almost have on that you could carry your mask costume in a box, a small box. Long time you could not do that, right? Because it is all about vulgarity. And it is about the woman, as I said, the pregnant woman. Because the woman who has to get pregnant with that kind of mentality will be passing it on in her DNA, in her genes, in her vibration to the child. And that is why the woman, the vulgarity is all about the woman. Look at the men how they dress on Carnival, they're three-quarter pants. Three-quarter pants. Right? That is the system. And we have a system talking about people going to church on Ash Wednesday, and we have so many churches around, but the vulgarity is so much more. What is the churches doing for that? How are they talking about that? How are they rebelling against that? Is there any law to say, well, look, let me stop it, and women should not wear this according to what, how far it reach, according to this and that? No. So if you see a woman walking down Frederick Street with a G-string on an ordinary day, do not point fingers at her because you do it on Carnival Day. So which means to say that carnivals give you the permission to commit a sin, to be vulgar, to be immoral. What are the churches doing for that? All the preachers are preaching around the Jesus hallelujah, a whole set of hypocrites. What are they really doing for that? Because it is who bringing the costume in order to make how much money? It is who trying to transport something or trying to copy something from the outside in order to be counted in the world. Now that is with Carnival. Now let us look at drugs. Did black people ever started to bring drugs in Trinidad and Tobago? The answer is no. Who? Let me look at the education system. Everything was brought here. And everything was brought here by a people who want to control and dominate. So if you have an African group, they want to control that and dominate it, they will get one of your people to send them in as spies in every group, in whatever group, whether it be Bobo Shanti, whatever it is, to see if they could wreck that group. Especially women, because you know where woman is, as I told you before, there's vulgarity, there's confusion, there's corruption. Woman and money. So my people is very, 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 very tough. It's very tough. Because to make sure that they control the system by putting things in the system that will make it easier for you to follow. And that is why they got rid of Bob Marley. That is why they got rid of Dr. Sebi. That is why they have Baba Yanun lock up. And they make sure they do it from your people. Because they want to make sure that they could point to your people and say, look, only responsible for their own self. But it is known in this world, whether regardless of what race, that anytime our people want to rule our people, they look for the weakest. They look for the frustrated. They look for those who are misguided and gone astray. So therefore, they have to be able to control the sexual urge of people. And how do they control the sexual urge and the mentality of people? Again, the food. The food we used to eat long time is not the same food we're eating today, because you have to eat to live and not live to eat. But today people are living to eat. Sometimes some people on a diet, I wonder how they really live, how they really survive. Because an economical web. You know, when a spider in a spider web, the food must be of such so that the doctors could make money. The food must be of such, and the sex and the fashion, so that the lawyers and the criminal organization could exist. Everything must be controlled in such a way so that they have to exist and we have to follow. And we always have to be trying to resist, but we can never resist. So who bring in all the guns? The poor man on the road who's suffering? Who bring in all the drugs? Who controlling the fashion? Who controlling everything? But I have to blame my people, because I said everybody is responsible. And here what's happening. Remember in 1970, when we had the drug brothers, when we had people getting together and everybody was good, Afro, we dance and we sing along. There was no crime like now, my people. I could have leave you and go find John John. And when I reach over there, is a brother. Come, let me boil a pot. Let me get together. We could have go from area to area. There was no borderline. Oh yes, we did have a little thing going on, but it wasn't like now. It was not like now. But from the time somebody decide to bring in guns and get you, and somebody decide to bring in drugs and get you, and somebody decide to make a project and get you box drain, and somebody decide not to get you, it's a setup to have us fighting against one another. And I am saying by now, if we don't realize how the politicians and those in high places, the 1%, take us and put us against one another in different areas, it is us to blame. Because when you have a young child growing up and the young child mother is frustrated, and the young child father is frustrated, or the young child mother and father is misguided by lust, by greed, and the mother is a gambler, the father likes other women, how do you expect that young child to grow up talking about Africa and getting to be conscious? Yes, it is known that pressure has driven us, some of us, into a mentality where we want to know what goes on, and some of us, but how many of us? Many are called, but few are chosen. How many of us? And the corruption starts from the family. So therefore, the young girl in the area becomes a domestic prostitute because she's home when her parents gone out. She's home having sex with some young boy for some gratitude, conveniently. And then when you check the young girl, she with this one, she with that one, she with that one, the father with this one, the mother with this one. And they have no respect for the elderly. They have no respect for somebody who wants to put them within the rightful form of life. So they curse you, they don't like you because you are not like them, you are not you are not of the norm. They don't like you because you come into them with something decent, they don't want that. If you should go to them and you should lie down with them, you know, like daughter having children with the same man with the mother living with, like the father having child with the same girl that the son bringing. It's a corruption. And when you go amongst people, African people, with that kind of African talk, they don't like it. They don't want you. You go with that. This is real life. Because they're being caught up in a web, they're caught up in a current. You know, like you see something going down in the water, and when they reach a pool of water, in the canal is going around. They're being caught up in that. How do they get away from that? And if and as time goes by, to try to get away from that, is as time goes by, those on top are getting stronger, and it is getting more critical. You know, the unions asking for minimum wage, right? And then the government will say we can't do that because, as I've said before, and many times, my people, that the government is not in control. The government is in authority. Those in control can tell the government what to do and what not to do, and they have to obey. So whether UNC or PNM, you always hear people say the same thing. You hear people complaining to the PNM about problems now. Those problems didn't start now, they start way back. UNC come, they couldn't do nothing. This one come, they couldn't do nothing, way back. And that is why we cannot fight them, this system with guns, because they have all the guns. They have all the plan. You try to do something in this system, and in about 2 or 3 days' time, you'll see American boats, war boats coming down here. They want, this is what happened. My people, our only strength is to be spiritual, not to be religious, to be spiritual, to have things like these. You see this? A lot of people don't like this. They demonize it because they don't know the real meaning of it. And this is one of the things that they did. They have so many religions in so many different places right now, and so many things are happening. So religion has no power towards it. The only power they have invested in religion is to control you peacefully, so that you will not rise up against them, so that crime will continue to pay. You know why they're against crime? They're not against crime because we killing out ourselves. They like that. Because the laws will make money and the judiciary system will flourish. But they're against crime when it is out of order, when it is affecting the economy of the country. When somebody has to say from outside, be careful or you're going to Trinidad and Tobago, be quiet. When it is affecting the economy of the country, there is where they step in and say, we must put a stop to it. And then on the other hand too, they align themselves with criminals so that they can control the crime system, or they can control the crime situation inside out. So when you think that you are in control of crime and you're controlling crime, somebody on the other hand is giving you pressure. So the more you try to get rid of the guns, the more the guns coming in. The more you try to get rid of the drugs, the more the drugs coming in. And you stand up there in some kind of security, position, controlling some security position, whether it be commissioner, whether it's superintendent or what, and you fighting against it. But don't you know that it is fighting against you inside out? So from inside of the police service, inside of the judiciary system, inside of the school, inside of the religion, the corruption is rampant. Even the prime minister at one time said he has never known there was so much of corruption in Trinidad and Tobago. Inside of the Calypsonians, inside everywhere, corruption has infiltrated everywhere, and you're going to stand up on a television and say the emancipation and no, you can't point fingers, brother. You can't point fingers. You have to point fingers at the system. This is what you have to do. Point fingers at the system. And I am saying no African, no African, no African city association could really afford to be what they want to be, or we cannot afford to be what we want to be under this system. This system has to be turned inside out. Otherwise, if we want to do that, it's going to be a physical battle, a spiritual battle, all kind of battle. But as I've said before, we have to make ourselves spiritual. And how can you make ourselves spiritual when they give you a white Jesus? Eh? And as the scripture says, his feet was as burnt brass and his hair was as wool. How can you make yourself spiritual? How you see people still People still have these white Jesus. People still carrying a cross on them. People still praying in a language that was not meant for them to pray in, the English language. So when they cut your language, they cut your strength because language is important. How come we're talking about Christianity and many of them don't ever know the original language that the man whom they call Jesus and all didn't pray in? Even the word Jesus was not his name. So my people, the family, the mother, the father have to get control of the children. Long ago, the mother and father used to get control of the children. Remember long ago, we used to have toys, we used to have gun, and we used to play gunfight, right? When Christmas time come, a little boy, if he didn't have a gun, and he didn't have a few rolls of caps, a little girl was not a little girl if she didn't have a dolly. And it had to be a white dolly. You could not get black dolly in them days. A little boy had to have a car. And as I said before, it had to be a white dolly. Because if you stand up on Frederick Street and you look at all the women passing, you will come women with false, black women with false straight hair. Not false afro hair, with straight hair wig. And how many Chinese, how many Indians you will see with afro wig. So you must know how the mentality is real, rotten, inferiority complex. And that cannot take place by anybody standing up on any television or any radio station and pointing fingers. Let us point fingers at ourselves. Black people are responsible for themselves because a lot of us exploit our own selves, and there is no other way for people to say, hey, they're exploiting themselves. You shouldn't be called a Negro. You should be. How many other people you see, you hear and see doing that kind of thing that the other races of people? How many? In fact, a prime minister came up here who was not of our race and talking about, if you cut my skin and you get blood, it's a red blood. And we have no mother Africa, and we have no mother India, it's grandmother. Who gave me the authority to put age to my country? Who gave me the authority to put age to the dark continent? In the beginning there was darkness, and out of darkness came light. Who gave her the authority to talk about if you cut my skin and get red blood and you cut your skin and get red blood? It is not the color of the blood, it is the quality of the blood. Whether you be RH negative, RH positive, BA, whatever it is, you don't go to the hospital and get blood just like that. They want to know what quality of blood or what blood they want. You cut the snake, you get red. You cut the dog, you get red blood. So what? Am I a dog too? I'm a snake too. Come on, politicians, just stop talking these nonsense for the people. Stop trying to gain vote by talking nonsense to the people. The politicians, the churches, the sex value. You have sex with that one, you have sex with that one, right? The spirituality. We must know our spirituality. We must get back to where we came from. We could never know where we are going until we go back to where we came from. From whence we come, ye shall return. And if we are not returning, well, heaven help us all. We are going, heaven knows where we are going. We know we will get there. Heaven knows how we will get there. We know we will. If we only know that the road will be muddy and rough. Yes, the road will be muddy and rough. My people, have a happy emancipation. Let us enjoy it, but let us realize that emancipation is not just a holiday, it's just a way of life. Have a good day.